We're here talking about EA Sports UFC, and you're watching Connected Digital World.
Andrew from Connected Digital World here. EA are about to release EA Sports UFC, and I got a chance to sit down, play the game, and talk to their creative director. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
I would love to. My name is Brian Hayes, and I am the creative director on EA Sports UFC.
So tell us a little bit about UFC as a sport, first of all.
Well, UFC, it stands for the Ultimate Fighting Championships, and it is the leading mixed martial arts promotion in the world. Mixed martial arts being, sports combat fighting, where multiple martial arts disciplines are used, in the octagon at the same time, whether it be wrestling, judo, jiu-jitsu, boxing, kickboxing, Thai boxing, karate, taekwondo, really whatever works. The athletes will apply those techniques to their greatest effect, in the goal of winning a match against their opponent.
Great. So now, obviously, tell us a little bit about the game.
Well, so the game is, our goal is to make it the most authentic representation in a video game of that sport. We're also trying to make sure it's accessible, because obviously with all those martial arts styles in a video game, a video game of it could be very complex, but we're trying to make sure the controls are accessible so that the game is fun to pick up and play for any users, but with the opportunity for learning and the ability for really passionate users to master it and become very skillful, champions, so to speak. But for sure, one of the biggest things we're trying to do is make it the definition of what athletes should look like on the next generation of video game consoles, because we have the privilege of only having to worry about rendering two primary characters in a relatively enclosed environment, the UFC octagon. We're able to focus on a lot higher level of visual fidelity and detail than some of the other great games that EA Sports makes, like FIFA or NHL. So that's really our mission statement, is to really make the greatest looking athletes, the most high quality looking athletes, and make users feel the fight in EA Sports UFC.
So how have you actually managed to do that?
Well, I myself haven't. I've stood around on the shoulders of giants, the team at EA Sports Canada that have been doing this, but it's a long process. It starts with us doing 3D head scans of the UFC fighters in our proprietary capture technology system. So that gives us a really highly detailed head model for every UFC fighter. We also do a body reference shoot, so we know what their body proportions look like, what their tattoos look like, all that kind of stuff. Our artists put that stuff together, create really highly detailed models for the game. Then we have our rendering and lighting technical crew developing the technology and the pipelines for lighting, shading in the game. That's what makes the highly detailed models look so good inside our octagon, the quality of our lighting technology. And then there's the whole animation, gameplay animation, facial animation team that really brings them to life as well. So you put all those things together, and that's really how those fighters come to life.
And was that the reason why you guys decided to go next gen only?
Yeah, definitely. We knew that when we signed the partnership, and then what our prospective sort of launch date was going to be, that really the big opportunity for us was to make a splash with how good a game could look on the next generation of consoles. And if we diverted our focus, or if we split our focus, we couldn't have pushed this game as far as we did if we were also looking at still supporting a current gen platform.
How many actual fighters are there going to be in the game?
Presently, and I've been asked this, so I should have looked this up, but it's either 98 or 99 on day one.
One or two then.
Yeah. So, but in the future, we will be looking to expand the UFC the roster for the game as well.
And I'm assuming both male and female fighters?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the game does feature the women's bantamweight division. In the future, we'll have to see, but there's a new women's division coming to the UFC in the very short term. The women's strawweight division will be debuting sometime soon, so potentially those are fighters we could add down the road as well.
Talk us through some of the game options that are available.
So EA Sports UFC features a relatively standard suite of gameplay features and modes. Obviously, there's a fight now mode. So if you're sitting on the couch at home, you can go into fight now with your buddy, have a whole lot of fun punching and kicking you on the face using any of the UFC fighters in any of the weight divisions we have available, in any of the venues we have available. There's also a single-player career mode experience. So you can create a fighter. It supports EA Sports game face technology, so you can upload photos to the web and we make a face that looks more or less like yours. Or you could upload somebody else's face if you wanted to do like I don't know, Hugh Jackman or something like that, feel free. I don't know why he came to mind, but then you start your career mode. It actually starts in the Ultimate Fighter. We're the first UFC game that actually has the Ultimate Fighter experience tournament as your introduction to your UFC career. So once you win the Ultimate Fighter tournament, you start your UFC career proper. As you train and fight, you earn points to develop your character, build yourself up, move up the rankings to get a shot at the title, win the title, defend the title. If you do that enough, you may get inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. And if you do that on either of the 2 hardest difficulty levels, the bonus there is you would unlock Bruce Lee as a playable character in the game. But if you don't think you can handle that, you can pre-order the game, and Bruce Lee is available that way as well.
Probably a good idea for me, because I don't think I'll be able to handle that. You've obviously mentioned some customization there. You can also do quite a lot of customization with music. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, there's a large and eclectic mix of music available in the game. If there's some of it that's not to your liking, you can obviously enable it, disable it, so that you won't hear it in the menu interfaces and whatnot. You can also customize what song your fighter, if you create a fighter, you can choose from a large list of music in the game as to what song they will walk out to when you see them entering the UFC octagon. But yeah, there's a large list of music, and you can edit and customize it to your heart's content.
Excellent. Obviously, given there are a number of different fighting styles and techniques in the game, how have you managed to do the control system for it?
We tried to make sure that the controls are as accessible as possible, but still provide the opportunity to do the wide variety of things that are possible in the UFC octagon. And as such, to make sure that it's, again, accessible and consistent, there is really just one core control scheme. All the striking is on the buttons, all the grappling is on the right stick, no matter where you go in the fight. So if I'm on the ground, buttons are still striking. If in the clinch, buttons are still striking. If we're standing in striking range, buttons are still striking. And then transitions are performed the same way, whether they're in the clinch or on the ground. We're trying to make the control scheme, while there's a lot of things that you have to be able to do, that you perform similar actions with the same inputs based on where the fight goes.
Okay. There's an online store as well, so what sort of things are you going to be able to buy in the store?
To be honest, we don't actually even know at this point. That's really more of a planning for the future. There may be, obviously there's the opportunity that there could be fighters available there, or future additions to the game. But really that is more of a just plan for the future in case there's something. But as of right now, we're really just focusing on the core suite of modes and supporting them as best as we can.
And in line with most EA Sports titles, there's quite a significantly large online portion of the game. Do you want to talk us through the different online elements? Sure.
And online is obviously very important. I think for a game like EA Sports UFC, where it's really the definitive head-to-head competition. There's no blaming your AI goalie or what your defender did on the pitch when you weren't in control of him, kind of thing. So it's all on you in the EA Sports UFC. So it's really, like I said, the definition of real head-to-head competition. And so we want to make sure that it's fun to play online. And probably one of the biggest things we're doing is taking from a game like FIFA and their online seasons. We have online championships where you would start out in the white belt division, and if you win enough fights, you can get promoted to blue belt or purple belt, brown belt, black belt, red belt. Basically all by having enough success in your current division. You can also win titles in each one of those divisions. If you win a title, it's yours to keep forever. You don't have to worry about losing it to another fighter. It's really something that just goes in your trophy case, and you can win them multiple times. But the division system really makes sure that if you're in the purple belt division, you're always going to be getting matched up against other people in the purple belt division. So it's very strong, sort of equal footing matchmaking, so that we're not, sending you a bunch of tomato cans, or we're not sending you up against, people that seem to be super powered, amazing, masters of the game. And that's really important to make sure that the online experience is fun for as many people as possible, that you're always having good competitive fights, and there's always rewards available for you in the not too distant future.
There's also a number of challenge modes in the game. Do you want to tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, challenges are, because as we've discussed, mixed martial arts can be somewhat of a very complicated sport. There's a lot of things that you can do inside the octagon. So challenges are broken up into stand-up challenges, clinch challenges, and ground challenges. And inside each one of those, there are multiple little gameplay tutorial challenges that allow you to practice the basic controls of the game in a vacuum without having to worry about everything all at once, or losing a fight, etc.
Okay. What's been the hardest thing for you guys in developing this game?
That is a really difficult question. I mean, the variety of challenges that you encounter when you are making, you know, a new game with new technology on new hardware.
Apart from that,
yeah, it's a very. I mean, that's really the simple answer, right? The challenge was making a new game on new technology with new hardware. But you know, the number of challenges that you face from, you know, as the consoles are in development, you know, not having, you know, definitive answers on how everything's actually going to work by the time, you know when you're designing features. Well, is the console going to support this? We don't know yet. Well, I guess we'll just wait and see. So there's a litany of things that make the development process, you know, consistently challenging. But you know, it's our jobs as, you know, the professionals at EA Sports to overcome those and, you know, try and make a product that is as high quality as EA Sports UFC.
And it certainly looks good.
Thank you.
How much support have UFC given you guys in developing the game?
The UFC have been very, very helpful. I mean, even from I would say from day one. If we say day one was the press conference at E3 where Andrew Wilson and Dana White were on stage. I think it was probably day 9 or day 10 that Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta and some other people in the UFC were up at EA Canada presenting to the development team. You know, really, you know, telling our team, you know, what their vision for the UFC is, how excited they were to be working with us. And that's a very rare thing. Like, it's not very often that the owners and the president of a sports league comes up to our studios and spends the day talking to our engineers, animators, and artists. So that was really cool. And then throughout the development process, I mean, we're in constant communication, you know, weekly. We have weekly sync-up meetings talking with the people in the UFC about how things are going, what status the game is. So yeah, they've been really, really very helpful throughout. Certainly, when it comes down to the scanning of the fighters, our ability to go down to the UFC Fan Expo 2 years in a row and set up a scanning tent was immeasurably helpful for us in delivering the quality of fighters that we have.
Have you got any concerns that if someone gets a new tattoo that it's slightly out of...
So that exactly happened. Conor McGregor, you need to slow down on the tattoos. But you know, we had already made Conor McGregor. He was in the game. He looked great. And then we saw a picture on Instagram, and it was Conor McGregor. Hey, I got a new tattoo, and we're like, oh. So, but then again, partnering with the UFC, we got in contact with them. We said, hey, can you get in touch with Conor's people? Have them take some, you know, some good reference photography photos for us. They got that, sent it to us, and at the very last minute, we were able to update Conor's model in game so that he has his new chest tattoo. But yeah, that's always a constant challenge, especially with how popular you know, tattoos are with in MMA culture. There's always a chance that somebody's going to get a new one that we don't have yet. But you know, we'll try and stay on top of it as much as we can.
Okay, last question for you then. What's your favorite? Oh, sorry, who's your favorite character?
So I'll say that Bruce Lee's not eligible as a favorite character because that's like too obvious of an answer for
I like it though.
Somebody like myself that, you know, grew up making bad pairs of nunchucks in his garage and hurting himself. But you know, my favorite character from the UFC roster, it's a tie. It's two guys. They're both in the featherweight division. I love the Korean Zombie, and I'm a really big fan of Frankie Edgar. I think that'd be an amazing fight to watch. But they're both so talented, so dynamic. I love watching both those guys fight. I can't wait for either of them to get back in the octagon.
Excellent. And when's the game out?
The game is coming out June 20th worldwide and June 17th in North America.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.